Hey, did you know that the shade from trees near a stream keeps the water cool and the fish love that? Hey, I got one. See?
Did you know that a strip of land like this running beside a stream is called a forested buffer? Did you know buffers help absorb rain from storms and keep streams from overflowing and maybe flooding? Did you know buffers help keep pollution from entering our water supply? Did you know a stream called Mill Run is flowing 15 feet beneath this shopping mall?
I didn't either. So stick around. Together maybe we'll learn something about the streams in our part of Pennsylvania. Hi, I'm Jason. I've been asked to host this program about streams that flow through Blair County. Why me? I'm probably a lot like you. You see, I never gave the streams around here much thought. I never knew a river could be healthy or unhealthy. There's a lot I don't know. So let's learn together, starting right here. Meet Mill Run. It starts with this small trickle of water, a spring, flowing out of the side of this hill. We're going to follow Mill Run for a few miles and talk to some interesting folks. And we'll see how Mill Run has been changed to fit the needs of the people who live by it. Let's go. We're about 1,000 feet above downtown Altoona, near a place called Devil's Elbow. It's beautiful here. Mill Run looks like it has for thousands of years. The water in Mill Run helps support all of this life. But think about it, it goes both ways. The plants and the trees along the bank give back to the stream. They act as filters and help keep the water pure and clean.
Josh Lincoln specializes in restoring eroded stream banks and helps plant forested buffers.
This stream is like a lot of natural streams in Pennsylvania, in that they begin in tops of mountains here that are undeveloped. This system is very nice because you have a lot of trees growing on the banks that help hold the banks in place.
It doesn't take long before Mill Run's trip down the mountain is interrupted by modern civilization. Reservoirs were built to supply the community below with clean drinking water. The reservoirs here are managed by the Altoona City Water Authority. Tobias Nagel is charged with monitoring the quality of all the source water that goes into the Altoona system.
We have 13 surface water reservoirs, pretty much located throughout the county. Because our watershed is primarily forested, the runoff that comes off of our lands is basically fairly clear. The velocity of the water slows down even during the heaviest storms. We don't have a whole lot of silt and sediment that will fill up our reservoirs that would cost more to treat. Water companies in the bigger cities or where the landscape flattens out a little bit deal with problems that we don't really have around here.
But after the reservoirs, Mill Run just doesn't fit our modern lifestyle anymore. What's happening?
We're starting to get lower in the watershed, and we're starting to see more development on the floodplain. A lot of people, when they look for a place to build, they want a nice level flat area, and this area has that because it's got a floodplain that's very flat, but it's a floodplain that was created from flood flows. And so people thought, well, maybe we can fix the stream, and one of the things that was done was the stream was straightened or lowered. And if you look around here, we have real high stream banks.
Well, I guess people who live in a community like this would think that dredging the stream or lowering the stream bed would make the water pass through faster. It would stop the flooding, but it doesn't, does it? Dredging the stream only makes the banks become steep. Then they start to erode and people lose their yards. All the sediment or debris settles out downstream, creating a flood problem for other neighborhoods.
And so all this energy and water that's held in has eroded underneath these tree roots. And that's a real big problem because now this tree can no longer protect the banks because it's undercut it. And eventually that will fall into the stream. And debris is natural, but if you have a system that gets out of equilibrium like this, you'll get an unnatural rate of this debris washing into the stream. So that's some of the things you have to think about when you start altering a stream channel like they've done here to try to make it more accommodating for a community.
So a stream like this is probably a lot more fragile than most people would think.
Absolutely. If you come in and change its channel right where we're standing, it can reach upstream, it can reach downstream. It's not just on your piece of property. It all is connected.
2 miles downstream, here's Mill Run again, only now it's straight, and when it storms, it's fast. Its natural buffers of trees and roots and vegetation has been replaced with stone and concrete. Years ago, these channels were built so the land could be used for homes and businesses. But without the natural buffer of trees and plants along the bank, all sorts of dirt, road salt, chemicals, and pollutants can wash directly into Mill Run from nearby parking lots and roadways. In many urban areas, people felt like they were running out of room to build, so they thought the only option was to build right next to the stream, or even over the stream.
We're actually standing under Logan Valley Mall right now, where the stream's been routed underneath.
The stream flows under the Logan Valley Mall?
That's correct. And so what they've had to do to get that to work is they've had to come in and use a lot of engineering and concrete. But as you can see, the stream looks a lot different. There's not a lot of aquatic habitat. The water's barely moving. This area probably has to be maintained frequently because of all the sediments that drop out right here. Structures like this are built all the time because they serve a purpose, because there's obviously a function for it. But nowadays, engineers consider the natural processes of streams much more so than before.
So let me see if I have this straight. A natural stream would have gently sloping banks with trees and grasses growing on both sides. This would help prevent sediment and debris from washing into the stream. And big trees help shade the stream and keep the water cool. Plants along the bank provide habitat for birds and wildlife.
I guess it would be nice if all streams could be as natural as we saw at the top of Mill Run. But a lot of our urban landscapes are so congested, stabilizing stream banks and planting buffers becomes difficult.
It seems to me that the best thing is to preserve the stream buffers we already have. But in some cases, maybe we could help Mother Nature by planting trees and shrubs along certain streams.
Here's one of those places that needs help. It's behind Jim Snyder's home in Puzzletown. Poplar Run flows along the back of his property, and over time, mowing the grass and brush right up to the bank, coupled with seasonal floods, weakened the stream bank. Now Mr. Snyder is planning to re-establish a buffer.
The past 4 years, we've noticed the erosion starting on this bank. It claims some of the property, probably 30 foot of the property, and 3 or 4 of the very large walnut trees that was along there. And our main concern, Jason, is that with the trees gone and nothing rooted along the bank now, that it's going to continue to erode.
We asked Josh Lincoln to come and explain what repairs are needed at the Snyders.
But this problem, it's fairly severe. The landowner's losing land, and also we're producing a lot of sediment into the stream. But you can also tell when you look at this bank, there aren't any big trees or shrubs growing on the bank. It's just grasses. And the grasses here only really have a rooting depth of only a few inches, as you can see. So it's not really doing a lot to protect these banks. And so we could come in here and fix this very easily because we have the space and we have the ability to just come in here and grade these banks to a better angle and then plant riparian trees along the banks to protect the banks. Now we can plant some other trees, shrubs that will become established, you know, in 3 to 4 years. But to get the real benefit of the woody trees, it takes a long time.
I never thought about how important it is to pay attention to what we do to the area near a stream or floodplain. It really does make a difference. I talked about this with Charlotte Sprinkle. She lives near Philadelphia and works for the Chester County Conservation District. She helps communities in her area to plant stream buffers.
Down where I live in Chester County, it used to be just like Blair County. It used to have a lot of open areas, a lot of forested streams, but we've had so much development come in that it's really taken its toll. So we have a lot of communities down my way that have realized and understand now it's really important to protect those buffers. So they've come up with some special efforts within the communities where they live to try and make sure that when a developer builds houses or builds that next shopping mall, that around the stream that's running through the property, they leave like 35 foot to 100 foot riparian or forested buffer on the sides.
So Charlotte helps urban communities plant forested buffers. But there's a group of rural folks in Pennsylvania who've been planting buffers for years. Farmers typically own a lot of streamside land. Planting buffers here can make a great impact on streams. Max Smith, a Blair County farmer, recently planted a new buffer to protect a stream that flows down the mountain and through his fields.
We have cropland next to it here, and we wanted to establish something that would, in the event that we would have soil erosion or heavy rains or whatever, if we did have ground that was tilled or just planted, that it would create a spot here, a grassy spot that would keep that from getting into the stream. And all of our farms, we implement as many conservation measures as we can, and we just felt that this was probably the right thing to do in this particular spot. Some of these trees are probably going to need 40 to 50 years before they're extremely big. We just wanted to do something for our children and their children's children, to have trees and wildlife habitat. I always like to look to the future.
Having wildlife habitat for his grandkids is important to Mr. Smith. It's important to Vern Ross, too. Mr. Ross retired from the Pennsylvania Game Commission as the executive director and now serves as the director of Pennsylvania Wildlife for Everyone Endowment Foundation. He's been an avid hunter and fisherman his whole life.
I don't know of any person that doesn't like to look in this stream and see fish.
Yeah.
Because, you know, clean water is important to you and I. When the last brook trout dies, we're not far behind them. You know, in the state of Pennsylvania, we are so fortunate with the wildlife that we have here. I mean, it's a phenomenal place.
Yes, it is.
Just to see wildlife.
Yeah.
And that's what these buffers really help us do. You know, in the state of Pennsylvania, we have 3.7 million people who are wildlife watchers.
Right.
We have over 1 million hunters in the state, and they contribute over $800 million to our economy. So these wild places where the wild critters live mean so much to me and to you and to all Pennsylvanians.
Vern's right. Our forested areas, these buffers, attract all kinds of wildlife. And the wildlife attracts people by the thousands. And they bring millions of dollars to rural Pennsylvania. No wonder it's important to protect our streams.
So forested buffers in any community, whether they're real or whether they have to be constructed, are really important.
It's an equilibrium. It's a system that's in balance, and when you take it out of balance, it can unwind.
We're very blessed and fortunate that our source water originates from land that's 96% forested.
I can't emphasize enough the economic impact that these areas have.
I always like to look to the future.
Looking to the future. That's what these forested stream buffers are all about. Cleaner water for us to drink. Less soil erosion, less maintenance. Better habitat for birds, fish, and wildlife. Less chances of flooding. Wow, who knew? You know, these streams were here thousands of years before us. They'll be here thousands of years after we've gone. We can't change the past, but we can watch what we do in the future. Think buffers. Think reasonable conservation for all the wonderful resources we have right here in Pennsylvania. Thanks for watching.